Today we're going to take a look at the Billy Pate Tibor reel. This one is a tarpon size. This reel came out in 1975, and it's remained pretty much the exact same design and components as the original. I think there's over 350 world records on these reels over the last 50 years pretty much now, and they're still going strong. So I'm gonna open one up and show you how to maintain it. This is one reel, just because there's so many out there that we kind of see them, the owners try to maintain themselves and they get put back together wrong, and then they don't really work as they were designed to. And it's usually a quick fix. Something was just put in the wrong order, but we'll go through all that. If you're not familiar with an anti-reverse reel, it just means that the handle in the retrieve only spins one way. It won't go back the other way at all. I think that's probably had a lot to do with why there was so many Tippett class world records on this reel. This design does a couple things for you. First, it saves your knuckles if a fish goes on a blistering run, because he's gonna pull drag and this isn't gonna move at all. It's not gonna come back and slam your hand. It also allows you to reel against the drag, so you can kind of set the drag, and if a fish is pulling harder than your drag is set, you're just gonna reel against the drag. You can't do that with any other reel. It's kind of like the way a spinning reel or a baitcaster reel would work, where you can reel against the drag. So you could essentially, if you're trying to get like a light Tippett class world record, you could kind of set the drag at home right around, say using 10-pound breaking strength, set the drag where it's going to break right around 10 pounds, and fight the fish. And if the fish is pulling more than 10 pounds when you're reeling, it's not going to do anything. As soon as the fish gives up a little bit, you're going to start taking the line. And one of the big things this reel had going forward is it does have an exposed rim right here, so you can palm the reel if you wanted to get some extra drag than you had set without actually turning the drag. It's got this big palming ring that's going to spin right there. There were other reel designs on the market that were anti-reverse. Probably when this came out, there was Seamaster reels. Finor had some reels, but for whatever reason, Ted Juracsik got this one right the first time. It's pretty amazing. This was kind of the first reel he came out with, and it just took off, and it's still a valid reel today. It's one of the only anti-reverse reels, if not the only anti-reverse reel that's widely still marketed and selling, and we still sell a lot of them. So yeah, let's go ahead and open this up and see how it works. You're gonna get one of these tools with every Billy Pate reel you get from Tibor. The first thing you're gonna do is just take this little screw off the top. Should just come right out. This just stops this nut from spinning, and this is reverse threaded, so to loosen this, it's going to be clockwise to loosen that. And then this handle should just lift right out of there. And then you have this other screw on top, which kind of holds this whole thing together. That's the only reverse threaded one, is this guy right here. Everything else should be normal, except for the knob. The knob is reverse threaded as well. Take that screw off, and I'm just going to loosen up this drag. Like I said, kind of goes the opposite way that you would think. And there's a washer on top here. This is one of the things you can get wrong. It's kind of has a smooth side that's got, it's a little rounded, and then it's got a totally flat side. The totally flat side goes on the top. The rounded side goes on the bottom. This knob is also something you can put an upside down. Kind of this rough patch right here is what's going to go down. The top is going to be perfectly smooth. Now you should just be able to lift the whole spool right off. And be careful when you do this, because there's a spring under here with 3 washers. And this is probably the most common thing we see messed up with the reels. this first washer on top, you know it's going to be that one because it's got this little knob right here. And this little knob fits into the groove on the spindle. This washer also has little bumps on the top, and they have to be facing up. The bottom is going to be smooth. You have a bunch of little bumps on the top. So make sure when you put it back together, the top washer, the bumps face up. Next washer is going to be your plastic washer, or it's just some kind of synthetic material. That one goes next. And the bottom one, again, it's going to be perfectly flat on one side and a little bit rounded on the other side. The perfectly flat side is the side that goes right up against the spring. This part we see more often than not get messed up with guys doing maintenance on their reels, and they come in and say the reel's not the same since they did the maintenance. Is because these washers do not get put in right. So flat side down up against the spring. Then you have your synthetic washer. Then you can have the washer that has the little bump in it, and you want all the bumps on the washer facing up. And that's how that sits. What we have in here is just a classic drawbar style sawtooth gear. These reels are not, you can't change the retrieve of the reel without changing this whole gear out. So if you order a Billy Pate reel, you're either going to order it right or left-handed, and that's how it's going to stay, unless you were to send this back to the factory and they were to switch this gear out for you. These gears are not something we stock, or any shop is going to stock, for that matter. So maintenance-wise, like I said, these reels are pretty bomb-proof. We see them, 30, 40 years old quite regularly. Really, the only thing you have to do is to get some Tibor graphite lube, which is going to be just grease impregnated with graphite powder. That gets smeared all over the cork. You want a generous bit of that right on top of the cork. The rest is just going to be the all-purpose Tibor grease. We sell both of these at Bears Den. And that's going to get around the whole outside of the sawtooth gear. It's going to get up inside the spring and around all the dogs. And that's it. So really, you shouldn't have to open these reels up that much. I'd say maybe once or twice a season, if that. Check and make sure you have enough grease on top of the cork. And check and make sure you have grease around the springs and the dogs. And this reel will last a very, very long time. And you shouldn't have any issues with it at all. To put it back together, I like to just put the frame, rested on the table. I do take this top washer off because this one has a little bump in it, and it's gonna get hung up if you don't have it lined up perfectly. So you just take the spool. Spool just goes right in there, and then you find that little notch, and you just fit it inside the notch on the spindle. You'll see once you get it, it goes right down, but it's not going to go in any other way. You need that to go in there so it doesn't move. Again, these washers are the one thing we see messed up more often than not. And then you're going to get the drag knob. Again, the drag knob's reverse threaded. Once you get it lined up right, it should just spin on very easily. You don't want to force anything. That's how you cross thread things and wind up with problems. Again, when you have this other washer, again, the rounded side goes down. The flat side's going to go up. And just fit that right on top. I like to keep the drag knob kind of screwed down tight when I'm putting this reel back together. All right. Now we have that done, and you can put this top screw in the cap. And you put the handle back on. Remember, this is reverse threaded. Use your tool. And you'll see you kind of want that notch lined up where you can get the screw, and you don't want it like, I mean, I could probably get this a little bit tighter, and if I did, I wouldn't be able to lock the screw down, so it's not worth trying to get it ridiculously tight. You just want it tight enough so that you can line up that little kind of half moon with where the screw is going to go in. Let's see. All right. And the screw just goes down. Again, it just stops that cap from spinning. And that's it. Again, bomb-proof design. Been around for, well, 2 years will be 50 years. They just keep catching fish. Like there's more world records on this reel than all other reels put together. They're great. You know, if you're looking for a reel that, you know, you can take apart and do maintenance on, and you know you can bring it on a vacation, and you know there's really no way that this reel can do you wrong. You know, if you were to submerge it or drop it in sand or whatever, you could take this whole thing, break it all down the way I just did, clean it all out, and it'll be good to go in the morning. Again, all you need to do to maintain this is just have some clear grease, some graphite lube. It does make a little bit of a mess, you know, maintaining these things, but you know, if you're good to your reel, they're gonna be good to you for a while. We have tarpon size, bonefish size in stock right now at bearsden.com. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, you know, taking the reels apart and how to maintain them, just hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll keep making them for you. Thanks.